I want to welcome you both to Scripps News Live, and thank you for taking the time to talk with us about this. Amber, I want to start off with you. Will you tell us more about the cause of the crash and why you believe further investigation is critical?
Of course. So the crash was found to be caused by a phenomenon where the clutch slips on the aircraft and it triggers a sequence of events. In their case, it was not recoverable. It was catastrophic. There isn't a crew that could have landed that aircraft safely. And I just want to take a moment to say their names: Captain Nicholas Lasapio, Captain John Sachs, Corporal Seth Rasmussen, Corporal Nathan Carlson, and Lance Corporal Evan Strickland.
And we thank them for their service, and we thank your family for the sacrifices that you all have made with a family member in the military as we observe and continue to talk about our veterans and men and women serving in the military. Now I want to talk to you about this aircraft because it has a track record of crashes dating back years, yet the military is still using it. Timothy, I'll ask you this. You're a pilot and a Marine Corps vet. How dangerous is this aircraft, and why is it still in use?
Well, thank you for having us on this morning, especially as we go out of the Veterans Day weekend. This aircraft has had a storied past. If you look at the numbers, purely the numbers of how many hours it's operated, there have been many hours of it working without any problems to those on board. But what's happened last year and what we're asking about now is what caused the failure of the aircraft. It hasn't been resolved yet. The cause of the crash has not been determined. And so Amber and the other families are asking this question. What more can be done in order to find out the cause, fix the problem so that families don't have to worry?
And is there any specific reason this craft needs to be in use? Are there other kinds of helicopters or other kind of turboprop vehicles that military members could use while this is being investigated?
This is a very
important aircraft. The Osprey is very unique. It's a tilt rotor. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead, Amber.
I was just saying the Osprey is a tilt rotor aircraft.
Amber, if you want to go, we'll have you speak to this.
The Osprey is a tilt rotor aircraft. The mission capabilities that the Osprey has, it's very much needed by our military, and it goes across 3 different branches. So that's the importance of the aircraft. It has capabilities of a helicopter and a fixed-wing aircraft.
Timothy, I'll ask you this. Are there any legal recourses that military members, or in this case, of those who have died in similar Osprey crashes, are there any ways that survivors can take to get this aircraft grounded, or any legal recourse families can take to bring some sort of justice?
Well, yes, there are things that can be done. And the families here, Amber and the other families, are taking the steps necessary to ask the important questions. And that's really what my role is now in this investigation, essentially, is to ask the Marine Corps, to ask the manufacturers of the aircraft to dig deeper to find out what the cause is. We're not looking necessarily to ground this aircraft. What we're looking for is a way to ensure that the aircraft is in its safest condition. Our veterans, our Marines, and other service members who are in active service now, especially with all that's going on in the world, require the safest equipment that they can possibly get. The last thing they should be worried about is the aircraft failing as they fly into very dangerous situations.
Absolutely. And Amber, on a more personal note, I wanted to ask you about how you have managed to move forward and what your message is. I mean, I know you and your husband have children, so it's not just you that this is impacting. You have a family. Will you talk about the impact this has made on your lives, and what your message is so that other families may not have to experience what you have had to go through?
Of course, yeah. I was pregnant with our second child at the time that John went down. I have 2 little girls, and they're going to be growing up learning about their father and his legacy and what an incredible man that he was. But I really do feel like, as American people, we owe it to these service members to be advocating for their safety. I'm not trying to send a message of fear. The military community is aware that there are risks and things that they do, but this was a training mishap. when it's happening, when we're not at war, we have to ask ourselves, what more can we be doing and how can we help advocate for them?
And if you had a message that you could deliver straight to the president or Congress, what would you want them to hear from you and from your family?
Of course, I would say the safety of these service members is so important. They are fighting for our country. They're defending our freedom. It's not just owed to them, but owed to veterans and owed to the American people as well. Every time there is a mishap, it sends a shockwave through this entire community. We all feel it so deeply for these families and people that are affected. And I'm just asking that people will please join us in voicing their support for safety in the military community and advocating for them because we owe it to them.
And Timothy, I'll ask you this next question. We talk about the status of the legal proceedings here. What has been the military's response in all of this, and where would you like to end up here?
Well, to date, there haven't been any specific legal proceedings, but the military has been very forthcoming with the responses that they've given. The investigation was very thorough, and what is also appreciated is that they admit that there are some questions that have not been answered yet. So we appreciate their honesty in that regard. And then what we will do is work with them and work with the manufacturers to try and come to the answers. And if there is litigation, that's something that we can talk about in the future. But right now, the families just want information.
Absolutely. And sometimes it takes people speaking up and not giving up on digging for answers to see that change happen. So Amber, thank you so much. Amber Sachs lost her husband, Marine Captain John Sachs. We thank him for his service and all of the names that you mentioned earlier in this segment. Timothy Loringer, her attorney, thank you both for taking the time and for telling your story. We appreciate it.